Hey, that time of the week again. Yep, Kamen Rider Zeztz episode 6 aired this past weekend. So let's talk about it. And as always, the link to the official episode is down below. So, go watch it if it's available in your countries. I know like the UK still doesn't have it yet, which is odd. But anyways, so this week's mission was escape with all the prisoners. And I feel so validated myself. I caught this back in episode 4 during the intro sequence. And I'm just like, hey, look, there it is. I wasn't the first to point that out. I just feel good that I was like, I noticed it. And so, obviously, here is the giant prison of death they have to escape. And so, we're just thrown kind of right into the deep end, which I didn't expect. I kind of thought, much like the other couple episodes, we would have gotten just a touch bit like setup before we're just thrown right on in. But hey, so with Baku, there are 3 people, 2 of which who are brand new characters for these for this episode and next episode, and obviously Nim. Who could have seen that coming, right? And Baku's saying exactly what I'm thinking. Wow, just what a kind of grim way to just start a dream, but hey. So the man in the back questions, hey, Nim, how you know this guy? Because they were kind of talking and just having their usual banter. She's like, oh, I only see this man in my dreams. He's a great friend. And Baku, the spy, ever trying to get more information of their current situation, is just like, how you know Nim, sir? He's like, we're a family. And he just goes, huh? It's funny. I cannot do the scene justice enough. Like, you have to watch it. It's so funny. And Nim explains that this is her father, and this is her mother. I have no idea how to say this guy's name, so I'm just going to call him Mr. Nim, and then obviously the mother is named Reiko, which is much easier to pronounce. So immediately after realizing, oh, these are the parents of Nim? I have a crush on them. Let me just aura farm. He's like, yeah, I'm going to put on a good showing tonight. So he does, the standard procedure and helps break everybody free. And I find it really funny that, like, this screenshot right here, every tokusatsu I've ever seen practically does this thing where the character, like, grabs their shoulder and rips their clothes off. I get it. It's just a quick, easy way to do a costume change. But by my God, it makes no sense in, like, every show. Except this one. This is, like, the only one that makes sense because, well, Zeztz is obviously working in dreams, so it doesn't follow, like, standard convention. But anyways, with our little introductory character relationship set up for the episode, they start walking through this labyrinth trying to find the way out. And almost immediately, they get killed by a bunch of deadly buzzsaws. How fun! And once again, Baku uses the impact capsule outside the suit, which makes me incredibly happy because I love it when riders use the gimmick items power-up or powers like outside the suit. It's so cool. And I find it cute that she's still, like, giving Nim agency in the dreams. Last week, he was like, oh, hey, Nim, help the evacuation during the wedding. Or episode 4. And now here, he's like, hey, he kind of just grabs the parents without, like, any regard. But he tells Nim, oh, hey, just jump on the back, which I like. It gives her, like, a bit of agency, and that's something I like for a character who's gonna be very important, especially next week. And so he uses the superpowered legs the impact capsule gave him to leap forward through the hallway of death. And Mr. Nim's just like, bro, you almost gave me a heart attack. I'm an old man. I can't be doing this. And Baku thinks to himself, okay, well, obviously, we're not just working in a normal prison. This has to be a prison probably manifested by the nightmares. And his suspicion is confirmed as Mr. Evil Man is out here. He's like, yeah, have fun, Zeztz, trying to escape this death prison. And then we get the intro, and you see, there it is. There's the thing that I was really happy about, because I caught it. You can see behind him it says, "Escape with all the prisoners." And, yeah, no notes on the intro. It's still really good. I like it a lot. The full version came out, shortly after episode 5, and, I like the extended version of it. That's about it. I got really nothing to say. I'm not, like, a music review guy, so I'm a story review guy. That sounded better in my head. Anyways, after the intro, Baku, Nim, and the parents get themselves nearly killed by a bunch of spikes coming out of the ceiling. And he uses the stream capsule power outside the suit, which I didn't expect. I kind of just expected that Impact would be the only one used out of the suit. But no, Stream does too, which is really cool. He creates like a little wind tunnel to protect himself and the others from these little spikes as they rush forward. But, you know, when you're running with older people, they kind of need to take a little break. So he's like, yeah, sure. And he uses this time to ask Nim, hey, if they're your parents, do you possibly have any insight as to why one of them might be dreaming of this? And Nim goes, well, about that, they're not my family. She's just like, yeah, that was the role I've been casted in, you know, like the bridesmaid and stuff. And he's like, bruh, you could have told me that sooner. And then the dream ends there shortly after, and Baku wakes up to realize, oh, my window's open. Which means those two are just kind of hiding in the little secret room in his closet. And I find it funny how, like, now they're just breaking and entering, like, on the regular. I kind of expected them to have, like, a secret entrance or something, like, I don't know, Superman telephone booth-esque shenanigans to get in, and not just, oh, yeah, that window, yeah, I think that's his. Outside in the real world, though, the symbol from the death maze actually appears etched into a mountain, meaning that the nightmare is slowly leaking into reality, which means Zeztz kind of has to hurry up. He's like, yeah, there it is in the dream. He also pulls out 2 new capsules here, the machinery and the projection capsules. And, yeah, so machinery and projection are much like Wing and Transform. So, like, Stream and Impact are like the bases. Wing and Transform are like add-ons that give additional powers. Here, machinery and projection are the same thing, but for blue Zeztz. And after they kind of don't know who these people are, you know, he acts as the cops to run like facial scans on those people that were casted as Nim's parents. And unfortunately, they don't get anything in the police database, which means they have no criminal record. So Baku's just like, yeah, let me go with somebody that has great instincts. My sister. And she immediately recognizes Mr. Nim as the head of Nim's agency. And so she takes Baku with him to go meet the head of the talent agency. And it's kind of weird, like, this is just, it's never, to my knowledge, at least from what I remember watching the show so far, they never brought up what the sister does for work. So this just feels kind of out of place, but hey, I guess she works at the talent agency. And then he starts going into how he met Nim, because Baku's just like, you know, I'm a big fan of Nim, trying to get information out of him. And we find out that about 8 years ago, he was looking to just help underprivileged children, and he saw Nim, and he was just like, yeah, she could be a child model. And from there, the career could just kind of blossom. And it's honestly kind of sweet, even if the language he used is kind of odd, but different cultural standards, so. And he's just like, yeah, she's priceless to not only me, but the people of this country. And then Baku's like, wait a minute. If he's the head of the agency, why did Nim not say that? What is going on? So he informs the police after pulling up sort of like the family chart, and come to find out, in the real world, Mr. Nim actually split from Reiko about a couple days ago. And so immediately the cop that always thinks he's got the case cracked goes, I haven't. Mr. Nim must be the one dreaming, because the family split and basically filling the role of a surrogate father. To Nim, he wishes they could be a real family. Which honestly, for once, he actually has it kind of right, but we'll get to that later. And I just think that is really funny, that he was like, you know what, yeah. So Baku heads right back into the dream, and they continue the joke of like, Baku lays his head down, and like 2 seconds later, he's out like a light. It's the funniest shit ever. So back in the dream, he's like, Nim, please explain to me why you decided not to tell me that this man, even if he wasn't your blood-related relative, he basically still filled the role. Why would you keep that from me? He's like, there has to be a reason. And Nim tries to wave it away, just like, oh, don't worry about it. And he's like, seriously, no, like, you could potentially lead to somebody dying because you decide to withhold information. And Nim's like, geez, dude, I'm sorry, I'm not ready to talk about something terrible, something bad that happened. She's like, I get you have to save people, but does that give you the right to go so deeply into a person's mind? And I like it. It doesn't like wave it away that, yeah, this is an invasion of privacy, technically. It like actually acknowledges it, which is unexpected. I didn't think they'd do that. And feeling not only hurt herself, but feeling like she's also kind of rude, Nim runs away, unable to like properly like process her emotions. And she runs all the way down to floor number 1, where they see an exit, and they're like, yeah, it's the exit, we're saved. Only to find out the exit opens up into a big ass warehouse, meaning there still is no exit. But when a creature attacks, Baku immediately suspects, oh hey, boom, there's a nightmare. Get rid of this guy. We can all go home. And here he is. He's a little chainsaw dude. And unrelated note, by the way, there's a theory going around that like the nightmares kind of like past Kamen Riders. I never really saw it, except this one. This one, to me, at the very least, looks like Kamen Rider Zeztz from Ryuki, where as he's called in Dragonite and Sizor. I don't know if it's an orange color, the big heavyset nature, or like the claw hand, but something about it just screams Zeztz from Ryuki. I don't get it. Anyways, what's really cool is that much like how he transformed into the wing, much like how he transformed with the wing capsule just like straight from base, he does the same with the machinery capsule, which is nice. It means we don't have to sit and watch him transform into stream and then like 5 seconds later transform into machinery. He just does straight machinery, which is cool. And the main difference between stream and machinery is that machinery gains a claw over the left hand that has some extra features. So he starts knocking around with the creature, And he summons the Zeztz breaker. And we also get to see that it doesn't have to solely use the claw hand. The claw hand can retract and give access to just like his normal human hand, which is very useful. And after he defeats it, he's like, okay, cool, we can escape. But nope. Mr. Big Evil Man shows up and goes, nah, buddy. You're not done here. And Zeztz, actually using his brain, is like, wait a minute. I remember that voice. You're the one that stopped me at the end of episode 2. Who are you? And he appears in full and creates a duplicate of the creature. This is like, buddy, how the hell did you do that? And it's like, really? You think you're the only lucid dreamer out here, bro? Pack it up. And now Zeztz has to desperately fight off 2 of the guys. Mind you, he was already kind of struggling against one, even with the new capsule. And the guy's like, oh yeah, no, this is an inescapable prison of death. You're gonna die here, buddy. But Zeztz quickly gets to work trying to dismantle the 2 creatures using the impact form, the Zeztz breaker, and the machinery capsule inside the Zeztz breaker, which is nice. We're getting a little bit of mix and match on the weapon use and capsule use. And here's a better look at the 2 creatures as they stop functioning. And Zeztz comes to realize that Nightmare is a prison itself. And the prison comes to life. Buddy, I have no idea how Zeztz is supposed to defeat this. All of his capsules so far are like, for dealing with people his size, not this big ass monster. And we can't do Gojuju crossover, so no Sentai Mecha for you, buckaroo. I have no idea what episode 7 is gonna cook up to get rid of this thing. But the episode nearly ends on a bombshell with Mr. Nim grabbing Nim and running with her. And in a way, kind of proving the cop right. I just didn't think they'd let him get it right, but they did. And Zeztz tries to chase after him. But we cut over to the real world with the 2 cops asking Zingreko, where is the president? What happened to him? Why would he be dreaming of this? She's like, well, I mean, I did divorce him, but I can't let an innocent man die. So she tells him the truth, that ever since an accident 4 years ago, he really hasn't acted the same. And we see the president suffering from his nightmare, as over in the corner of his office is almost a memorial to Nim. And the episode ends. Bro, huh? That's how you choose to end it? Oh, that might be single-handedly like the worst cliffhanger, not because it's a bad, but because it was so suspenseful. Like, I'm dying. I need episode 7 like now. And spoilers for next week, because the previews kind of give it away. So if you do not want to be spoiled on episode 7, leave the video right now. Because next week on Kamen Rider Zeztz, the terrible truth comes to reality that Nim is in a fucking coma. She is either in a medically induced or trauma-induced coma. I did not see that one coming. We all kind of knew something was up with Nim. But this? I did not expect this. And it could, and there are a couple of theories here, mostly about like last week when Big Evil Man said some cryptic stuff right at the end. But this blew my mind when I first saw it. So, yeah. That was episode 6 and episode 7's preview. Overall, to me, this episode was much like episode 4 in the fact that it was very heavy on the story but it leaves out something narratively satisfying just so it can be stretched out into 2 episodes. And I mean, I get it, right? You want people to come back and view the next episode because it's a 2-part structure. But in my opinion, episode 2 did it right, as there was still something narratively satisfying in 2 that followed up from 1, but still left the door open for 3. Here, both episodes 4 and 6 kind of failed to give me that same full satisfaction. But this episode was still great. It had great action, a really great story with a couple of twists and turns that I don't think anybody saw coming. And overall, I enjoyed this episode. It occurred to me recently that I should probably start doing like number rankings, like 1 out of 10, 2 out of 10. No, because I just hadn't done that for any of the episodes yet. So overall, on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being absolute garbage fire and 10 being really good, nearly flawless, this episode gets a 7 from me. It wasn't bad, but there were a couple elements that I wish were either expanded upon or changed just to make the episode feel a touch more satisfying. But with that being said, though, what did you think down below? Were you, like me, kind of just mind blown by this episode? Or did you kind of go into it knowing something was off with Nim? So yeah. Also, I don't think I have next week's episode title. Let me scroll back to here. Yeah, I don't have the episode title, so I kind of forgot what episode 7 is going to be called. But when episode 7 does air, I will make a video on it, don't worry. Yeah, those are my thoughts and opinions on Kamen Rider Zeztz episode 6. And I will see you all next week when we have our minds blown by the truth about Nim.